Jennifer. So over to Justine. Justine is a financial wellbeing consultant with 25 years experience in the banking sector, working for one of the UK's largest high street banks. She's worked as a volunteer ambassador for the Money charity for the last 18 months and is now delivering financial wellbeing workshops in the workplace, providing support to employers and enhancing wellbeing programs across the UK. Justine and the Money charity are also a collaborative partner of Let's Improve Workplace Wellbeing, and also contribute fantastic content and resources to the new financial wellbeing microsites that are available for all employers that we'll touch on in a moment. So welcome, Justine. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, everyone. So thanks, Ryan.
No problem. So the first thing to go through really from a provider's point of view, rather than an employer's, I suppose, is the data and why you feel employers should consider financial education as kind of part of their strategy anyway.
Yeah, so it's interesting listening to people's thoughts about how to gain that buy-in, and so some of the things that I feel really passionate about, and we've got to remember some of the external factors that are impacting people at the moment. So obviously the pandemic, lots of people have lost their jobs, been furloughed, or not getting as many shifts and overtime, and that does have a fundamental impact on people's mental health well-being. Okay, and that has to be one of the compelling reasons. Another one for everyone to be considering: we all know about the rising cost of living, with inflation surging ahead and with costs increasing. How people are managing their day-to-day money and budgeting and being able to pay for things is really impacting people. And certainly we're seeing the young generation, the 19 to 25-year-olds, are the ones that are struggling to keep up with bills and credit commitments, but equally we see all UK adults feeling really uncomfortable talking about money in general. So I think I'm a big believer, I'm passionate about prevention before the cure, and whilst I see lots of great initiatives around mental health awareness training and other courses, some of the root cause and often the missing part of the jigsaw tends to be the impact that financial well-being can have. Now, another thought for us to perhaps dwell on: I read something about 2022 being the year of the Great Resignation, because people are reevaluating their careers and what's important to them. So this is putting pressure now on employers to retain colleagues. And we're also seeing the highest level of job vacancies in recent years. So employers need to be including this in order to keep their talent and keep their employees at work. So a couple of other things to think about then, if we move on, would just be looking at the financial pressures that people may be having in the background that puts on them to perform their job. So, we're seeing issues around productivity, we're seeing increased absenteeism. And I think it's important to think about, someone mentioned about women in particular find it really difficult managing their own financial well-being. So I think, there's a number of reasons there, but I think the link between being financially resilient and capable of managing your money, if we're not in a good space with that, it can lead to really difficult issues, linked to mental health and, sleep problems and physical health and nutrition. It's all linked together in one, in my opinion. So, if you're worried about money, that's going to impact you in terms of how productive you are at work. And we know that a big proportion of UK employees these days are telling us that this is a problem. So that's why, I think some of the compelling factors we should be considering this as part of our overall well-being.
Brilliant. Yeah, I think there's so much stats and research that hopefully, the justification of elements of financial education well-being being brought into the workplace shouldn't really be an issue now. I wouldn't have thought it is. It's quite obvious with what's happened over the last couple of years as well, and how we've all been affected, whether that was us personally or someone else in our household, that ultimately affects everyone involved. So that's great. I wondered if you could let us know a little bit about where employers can start, because again, as we were talking to Jennifer, it can be a bit overwhelming. There's lots of different areas of well-being in general, and even when you're looking at financial well-being, there's a lot to think about. But where would you suggest that employers can
Okay, so on the next one, Nurs, so I think first of all, it's not just a tick box exercise, this one. So I do see sometimes employers just going, oh, we'll just chuck a workshop in just so that we can show we've ticked that box. It's not just about that. For me, it's about diagnosing that need, like Jennifer said, and using some of the data, whether it's employee surveys, whether it's listening groups, whether it's feedback from managers, and having that data to understand the need. So another example of that could be, and I've just done some work with a company that have just had a big intake of apprenticeships and graduates joining their business. And what they've realised, these people aren't used to having a pay packet, they're not used to reading a pay slip, they're not used to budgeting. So, we've gone in and we've done some work with a particular group of people because they've diagnosed that need for their business. So I think that would be the first thing. We talked a bit about the holistic approach, which Jennifer has taken, and I absolutely agree. It's not just a one-hit wonder. It's about reviewing what existing benefits you've got and having that pick and mix, that different support out there, whether it's resources or tools. And I think the other thing I'd be thinking about would be not just what am I doing with the employees, but what about afterwards? Do we have mental health first aiders in the workplace? I think we should have financial people in the workplace that people can go to in a confidential way, that have the skills and ability to not give advice, but to be able to signpost resources and other places to go. And it isn't just a one-stop shop. It has to be that holistic combination of everything, really.
Yeah, I think we've seen that a lot, that when we start to do some sessions with companies, that they were really well received and great feedback, but it's the what next, it's the follow-up, and well, what's the next action to take for different employees at different stages, so that they can keep this journey going to try and improve their financial well-being, whatever that might look like. Having access to ongoing resources, not just we've seen it a lot, just a well-being week, maybe at the start of the year. I think we've moved on a lot from that, but having a real calendar of events and resources that people can tap into is really, really, really useful. So for those that don't know much about the Money Charity, Justine, obviously we know a lot about you guys, but do you want to just share a little bit about the work that you do and how you've been helping so far?
Yeah, brilliant. Nurs, if you could move on a couple of slides for me, that would be great. So who we are. So we are a charity. We are the UK's financial capability charity, and we've been around for 25 years. And our vision, I guess, is to help everyone and anyone achieve financial well-being through being able to manage their money well. And we try and do that through empowering people to build their skills, their knowledge, helping them to achieve their goals. And we're a big believer about, we're not advisors, so we're not giving advice. We are a charity, and the commercial work that we do in the workplace helps us then to fund the work we do through education and community and other vulnerable groups as well. We're not affiliated or linked to a financial provider. We don't have any other agenda other than giving guidance and tools and support and signposting places to go to. We work with loads of different backgrounds and people across the workplace, as I say, across education in the school setting, particularly with secondary schools and university age group, as well as working with other parts of the industry to improve practice and influencing government as well. So we do offer a whole range of different wellbeing workshops. I'm not sure the slides are moving. I can't see my slides at the moment, but a whole different range.
I'm not sure if what you can see as well. It's on my one anyway. It's still saying why should employers focus on financial well-being? But is that the same as you, Justine?
Yeah, it's not. The slides have not moved. Don't worry.
The slides are playing out. We'll come out and go back in maybe to the slides. But it'd be useful because again, there's so many workshops that can be offered. There's so many areas and topics and themes that encompass, financial education, financial well-being, that people need to know about. Again, I hark back to it, but at different points in their lives, in life stages. But do you want to touch on, if we can manage to get the slide, the different workshops that you offer?
Definitely. So obviously workshops and webinars, we've got a whole range of different options depending on what you want. We also support workplaces to come up with their own bespoke programs as well. So we get involved in developing content and hubs and workshops and help employers as well. So if a workshop isn't hitting the mark for you, or you want something a bit more tailored to your business, then we do offer consultancy as well. So if we can move on to the next one, Luz, that would be great. So there's a whole range, as you say, and to be honest, often people say to me, oh gosh, where do you start? Is it budgeting? Is it about saving? Is it about managing my credits? Is it about money safety? And sometimes it's just good to start somewhere. So in the top left here, we have a whole suite of different general financial well-being options for you. And that can be anything from a lunch and learn 1 hour, which is quite a popular sort of general financial well-being. We look at budgeting, saving in there. We've got a particular workshop that we tailor around for women and some of the issues that they face. I know that was a question that came in the chat earlier. Moving on, we've adapted some of our workshops to take account of COVID. So we look at what to do, for example, if a company is going through a redundancy program, and how that can impact and be a shock, and the kind of questions that people need to be thinking about if they're in that situation. We do have some very sort of general here, so we're not giving advice at this stage around retirement and pensions. It's in depth, and it looks at thinking about your retirement and your consolidation and your different contributions and how to budget, etc. And then you can pick a mix, a whole different range of different topics if you think that's relevant for your audience, really. So yes, that's kind of the work that we do alongside any bespoke programs and consultancy if people want something tailored to them as well. So yeah, so that's me.
I think as you've seen, there's a lot there, isn't there? Lots of different workshops, and best practice we've seen what companies can try and do is take a bit of time and analyse the demographics of the workforce.
Yeah,
and obviously it makes common sense to align the workshops and the actual content to what people are saying they want. It's a real easy win to ask people what they want and then try to offer that. So
and sometimes just thinking about one of the questions somebody said earlier, sometimes these can be done face-to-face or virtually, whichever, depending on where you are in the UK. And some people like the virtual ones because they're a bit more anonymous. So I get what people are saying about talking about money is a bit taboo, and, I'm not feeling ashamed about the fact that I've got a credit card debt. You don't necessarily have to engage and tell everyone about your personal finances. It's very generic and confidential in that respect. So yeah.
I think the other thing, Justine, we found this is that, we obviously talk about the benefits of advice being from a financial advice company, but we also recognise that people are possibly at different stages where they may need just access to more education to be able to improve their understanding around elements that are really relevant to them.
Yeah.
And possibly to look at what guidance is available. We're going to in the next event talk to Richard from Money Helpers and talk about the differences between education and guidance, and then obviously with advice at the end. Just go into a few, before we go into a few questions, I just wondered if you wanted to mention really about the financial wellbeing workshops, financial wellbeing microsites, the content that you'll be featuring in them, because I know there's some really fantastic budget planners and different bits and pieces.
So it's probably worth everyone knowing that as part of the Let's Improve Workplace Wellbeing, there is now a microsite available of resources for you to use with your employees. And you can get there. I found it eventually. Let's Improve Workplace Wellbeing /financial will take you to that microsite. And what you can do is have a look and think about what some of the solutions might be for you. So if, for example, you're looking for sort of general money management, you can click into that and it will bring up a whole load of resources that are available from a number of different partners that are involved in the initiative. And you're in there, you'll find information from the Money Charity, and also free tools like the Budget Builder, the free budget tool that we offer, alongside our free money manual as well, which has got lots of useful information. So I think you said you were going to send it out after the session today, Ryan, but it's a great site with lots of useful resources.
Yeah, it's quite a new thing that's been developed. So there's a lot of they can be branded and bespokely made for different organisations and different employers as well. But we'll send out in a follow-up to all the attendees and those that registered on this, so they can have a look for themselves. But thanks very much for that, Justine. Obviously useful as always. Questions and answers. I know there's a few there. I don't know if you wanted to go.
Yeah. I think a really interesting one, which often comes up, and I guess, to ask the question, are there ways to calculate the effects of not getting financial well-being right?
So I think that it comes through in colleague surveys because of the link to the mental health wellbeing as well. Getting feedback after sessions is something we always do, and if there's any derogatory feedback, we will work with the employer to see whether we've met their needs or not. But I have never had anyone say a workshop hasn't been useful. Even I learn things about managing my own money. Even I make mistakes. So I think I don't think there's an actual way of measuring, but you can certainly get feedback easily enough, and we do as well.
Just adding to that, Nuz, again, through discussions I've had, it's really important. There's two areas, I think, where you can actually see the impact, and that's through stats. I know you're very driven on the stats, and the stats and the analysis has got to show improvement and return on investment, all this sort of stuff. But also the stories. So you've got the stats and the stories, and the stories can just be case studies of people that are happy to share their story of the issue that they had at the start, whatever place they was in to start with, what was done, whether it was a workshop or a one-to-one session or whatever the activity was, and then the actual impact that made. And you might only have one or two of these. I know when we were speaking to a company a while back, that the positive impact that they had some, they implemented some initiatives around affordable credit and loans for hardship loans and things like that. And the stories that came out of that were absolutely incredible. How that changed people's lives. I think that the combination of stats and the stories from within your organisation, really shows something.
And I think just to add as well, I think we are talking about the qualitative and the quantitative here. So not always can you actually put a figure to it, but I think in general, well-being can be like that. And from a provider perspective, definitely, Justine, you must have seen it. Jennifer, you must experience it with WageStream, etc. You do get MI reports that actually show you how many people are engaging with a certain type of, product. So, for example, my experience was when we dealt with, for example, salary finance at IKEA, it was the fact that we got those MI reports to show the engagement. And if you see engagement of 34% and then it's shooting up to 90%, well, that's telling you something that is obviously worrying. And then adding on other layers, I think, Justine, you mentioned around some of the Citizen Advice Bureau's data around sleep. I mean, if X number of people are having sleepless nights over debt or worrying about money, then actually that's going to impact whether they are present or absent from work. So I think it's something to definitely take into consideration, that you've got to use your external data sets to also then complement your internal data sets to then be able to build that business case, I guess, is the experience.
Yeah, I was going to say this on that. There's some really great providers out there and apps I won't mention, but that do look at scoring systems, and we've tried to develop that within financial wellbeing as well, of a really simple way. And you'll see it on the microsites that individuals and employees can learn how to score their own personal financial wellbeing as a starting point, and then from there look at what areas they might need to focus in and what activity their company might be offering, or other providers or whatever, and then revisit their financial wellbeing score and understand how they're progressing. I think it's really, really important, especially for companies, to be able to measure impact. It can be really tricky, but there are ways of doing it now. So yeah, feel free to check that out and give us your feedback on it.
Yeah, I think coming from Richard, are there any insights on how easy or hard it is to encourage employees to self-serve? I think this one directing more towards, I guess, Jennifer, is, in terms of how easy or is it hard to encourage employees to self-serve on the information they need. Not everyone can make it to a workshop or webinar, particularly staff working in lower paid or customer facing jobs where joining online sessions may be really difficult. So just thinking of the police force and them being, out there on the beat, I guess, so how well does signposting to the right information work? Do portals and one-stop shops for information work well?
Jennifer's had to shoot. I know she she had to get off as well.
Okay. I've just got a thought on that, actually, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So I think if you, in my experience, if you send out, here's a financial wellbeing workshop, feel free to dial in. It's on Tuesday at 1 o'clock. Then attendance isn't going to be great. But if you've got a manager or a leader saying, right, we're all going to get involved in this, we're going to listen, we're going to take away some learns, and then you get everyone, including the leader, involved, that seems to work. And as for the people that maybe are not a customer facing or can't join a webinar, we can record webinars, and I've seen managers take it away and do it in team meetings in future time. So I think there are ways of working with organisations. I appreciate not everyone's going to be available at a set time on a set day, but I think it's do something rather than do nothing would be my thought.
I think the example from Leeds City Council, because I guess Darren from Leeds City Council has done a really good job in terms of financial well-being as well. And his example is it doesn't have to be complex. You just have to actually meet people where they are. In IKEA, we used to do a morning huddles. You have to give sales figures. So in that sales figure, use that opportunity, even if it's 1 minute, to say, check in today with this budgeting, or we're about saving money today, and, having one of the free choice meals, for example, or something like that, really making it fun and interactive and meeting people where they are. So I think it is possible. I don't think you can only keep it to portals and kind of that one-stop shop, if I'm honest, Richard, because I think, again, it's what people are not all the same. Some are desk bound and like to be on a desk in a portal, but others like the conversation and the conversation starters and creating that safe space to be able to talk about topics. So it definitely needs that. Some sharing of some resource, so that would be really good. We'll send out. Luke, this point is one we're agonizing over at Salary Finance currently, how to better measure impact of doing something and doing nothing. So if there are any suggestions, we'd love to hear them. So definitely think about that. Bex, thank you. I think it's also making finance fun. It does really matter who delivers it to. Really good point. And I think, Bex, you had also asked earlier on, if I'm not mistaken, going through the massive chat around, do you have anything specific for ladies? So I guess.
Yeah, and the answer is yes, we do. We do, certainly at the Money Charity. If it's educational, we tailor one of our workshops particularly to women. So if that's something, feel free to drop me a line and I can talk you through it.
Yeah, and I think it would have been an interesting one as well to ask Jennifer. But I guess it's also where you are starting on the journey. Is education is education? How do you make it reach the many people in terms of that? And then just to end off on questions, I guess, coming back to Farhana's question on, I suspect a proportion would not be open to other on the needs of financial well-being. So it's that destigmatizing the conversation around financial well-being. So Justine, could you add anything to that, or have you come across it in your workshops?
Yeah, we do. And you get those that get involved and those that don't, or those that think they know it all, etc. So I think you can't tailor this to everybody, and everyone's at a different stage with their finances. So some people, because of COVID, have not been impacted financially, or actually they may have gained because they've got more money because they're at home. So I think it's about tailoring it, first of all, diagnose the need, tailor it, the leadership buy-in, the direct line management buy-in is absolutely huge. And, you know, they don't know what they're missing if they don't get involved, you know, and I deliver brilliant workshops that are lots of fun. So why wouldn't you want to come and spend some time with me?
Just to add then, on the offering different things to different people, we're seeing it more and more now. Obviously, workshops, everyone was doing workshops and online workshops in lockdown, and that's great, and that's probably here to stay to a certain degree. But you're also now seeing podcasts, you're seeing, you know, short, sharp little videos that are being made available to maybe give that little snippet of information to then, you know, delve in a bit deeper. It's our attention spans are getting less and less, shall we say, but so important to offer a wide range of content via different mediums, because again, as individuals, we all learn in different ways, we all like accessing information in different ways, so really important to try and offer that.
So I'm just going to end off with Neil speaking about, we look at the loss to payroll via absenteeism, presenteeism, leavers, recruitment and training, both before we implement our financial wellbeing program and again after 6 months and 12 months. It is easy to measure the reduction in payroll losses. The saving is greater than the cost of implementing our program. And I think that's a perfect segue to kind of for you to wrap up, Ryan. But thank you for sharing, Neil, because I think that's really interesting. We may need to pick your brain in going deeper in the detail on that one, because I'm definitely keen on understanding what does that look like, because we know we've got lots of people within payroll and HR, etc., that probably don't join those dots. Right?
Well, just on that, there's lots of questions, which is really great, loads of engagement and interaction. So we'll try and follow it on, maybe in LinkedIn and via the page and all that sort of stuff. So feel free to follow that and comment on the session. Can we just finish really quickly? If everyone, we'll just launch the second poll and then we'll end there. Just to answer the question, I don't know if you want to bring that up, Nuz. We try and get some data and feedback from these sessions. So it's just a real basic question, but from the session, possibly, how likely you might now be to implement financial education into your wellbeing strategy now. So if you've already got it, then great. If you want to put, we already have this. If you want to, but you're not quite ready yet, that's absolutely fine. This is all anonymous, obviously. Or if you would, you're looking to implement it as soon as possible. Useful just to get some stats and feedback from that, and see where we go. But yeah, just want to take sort of 10 seconds to do that, and then we always try and wrap up with a few minutes to go before the hour, so people can get on and have a break or do whatever they need to do before their next Zoom or next Teams or next event or meeting. But yeah, has that come through, Nuz?
Yeah, I'm just waiting for a couple of more people, because we've got still people on the call that haven't replied. But I think the way that it stands, it's I'll just end the poll now, and then just share the results so we can have a look.
Okay, yeah. So a lot of people probably split 3 ways almost. A lot of people already got it in place. Quite a few people that want to but not quite ready, and we see a lot of that. It's absolutely fine. Can only do one thing at a time, and then a lot of people that want to implement it as well. So brilliant. Well, thank you everyone for taking the time. Really good turnout and engagement levels. Really useful and encouraging to see. Lots of going on. We will share all the information afterwards. It was recorded, so we'll make the session available for to watch back. And enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you, Nuz, as well as always, for being a hostess with the mostess and keeping an eye on the chat and the slides and all that sort of stuff. I know it can be a bit tricky.
Apart from it freezing.
Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you soon. And enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you all.
Thank you, Justine. Really, really good. Really